The trail is a metaphor for change. Although hiking, and specifically endurance hiking, is now a big part of my day-to-day, it's not just about exercise. It's about transformation. Each step is a movement towards clarity, purpose, and identity. But movement is one thing, sharing insights gained is another. As a U.S. Marine veteran, I created this space to help other veterans gain clarity, purpose, and identity. Let's walk this path together. This is Trail to Transformation.
Most people aren't broken, they're just dysregulated. Chronic stress, pain, anxiety, and burnout aren't mindset failures. They're nervous systems stuck in survival. I'm Leland Holgate, combat veteran and neuroscientist, and I created the Welcome Home method to help people rewire their nervous systems with breath. And to go deeper, visit thewillfulwarrior.com.
Hello, I'm Michelle Ann Collins. Happy to be here with Jennifer Keeling today. Subbing for Keith today, for Keith McNally. Love him. Best to you, Keith. So Jennifer, welcome to the Trail to Transformation.
Thank you for having me.
I'm appreciating your bravery and stepping up to be a guest. I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. So just to break the ice a little bit, can you tell our viewers where you are physically located in the world?
Sure. I currently live in Battleground, Washington.
Which is where, for people who think when you say Washington, think DC?
Washington State, and I guess you could say it's like a suburb of Vancouver, Washington. We're really kind of borderline to Vancouver.
Okay. All right. So not far from me. I'm in Portland, Oregon. So it can be a 30-minute drive south or maybe longer depending on traffic.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you, the work you do, and how you're supporting veterans in your day-to-day. But I'd love to step back into your past. And if you could share with me and the audience, how did you get interested in supporting veterans? And are you a veteran? And if so, where did you serve and when?
Yes. So no, I am not a veteran. I was a military spouse, Army spouse, for 17 years. So lived the Army life, traveled, moved every couple of years all across the United States. We had 2 boys, and just was part of the family support group, really involved in just, being an Army spouse and what that entails and supporting my husband as he served.
And your husband's name?
Ron Keeling. He was First Sergeant Ronald Keeling.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for your support of Ron. I'm just curious. I know you can't sum up 17 years in a sentence or two, but I'd love to hear what currently, as you look back, kind of your experience was as an Army spouse.
It is. It's a unique position. I say job, I almost said job, but it is like a job because, you really are packing up and relocating. We moved multiple times, and one of the times we were stationed for a year, and then they were like, "Oh, we're moving the whole unit to another state." And so, it's just that constant. You never feel settled, I guess. You're constantly on the move, and it can be good and bad. Like I said, you don't ever feel really settled and like you have a home, but at the same time, it can be exciting because you're like, "Oh, what new place are we going to go explore now?"
Yeah, yeah. So, if you can remember back, and it's easy to access, I know there was a lot going on, but do you remember having any type of a grounding force in your life, a practice or a community or something that helped you cope with all of this movement?
I mean, I think family is important, having a home base, like always knowing that I had my parents, they were like a home base. So whenever it felt like we're all over the place, we don't know where we're going, what we're doing, to return home and visit and just kind of get that grounding of like, okay, there is this home, and then how can I make that feeling happen no matter where we go.
Oh, that's great. That's such an important concept. I hope the listeners could get that. Like the feeling of home, and this is something I really teach in my mindfulness consulting and coaching, can be anywhere. It's just a matter of having a grounding practice or a centering practice that can bring you into the moment. So great comment. Thank you for sharing that. So then your army service ended, your
Yeah.
your spousal service ended, and what
Yes.
happened then?
So 17 years married. Ron was 1 year away from retirement, and so we were, thinking ahead. What is that going to look like? What is retirement going to look like? And unfortunately, he died by suicide in 2009. So again, 1 year away from that retirement. So just a whole 180 of my life. Like, here we were thinking about what was ahead of us and what our future was going to look like, this new chapter. And all of a sudden, I was thrown into a new chapter that didn't include him. It was just me and my boys. And suddenly it was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this new chapter, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, understandable. Talk about a pivot, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
um, so I want to ask you if you can share, and if you're unable to share, that's fine. Okay. Anything leading up to his suicide that you might have noticed that might be able to help our listeners understand what they might be seeing, if
Yeah.
there was something?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I always say hindsight, right? Hindsight. Like at the time, I didn't know. In 2009, we weren't really talking about PTSD. We weren't talking about suicide like we are now. So, I didn't see, like I knew things were happening and things were off, but I didn't know what it was. Now, in hindsight, after learning so much, and being involved in this community, now I can do the look back and go, oh my gosh, yes, there were all these things. And so, the things that I noticed, his first deployment was 12 months in Iraq. He lost his chief, and he was the first one on scene. And that completely changed his whole life. It changed his personality. It changed everything. So when he came back from that deployment, he was not the same person. Completely different person, still very focused on his job and the military, but it was a hyper focus. Like I am when I deploy again, I'm not going to lose another soldier. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep everyone around me safe. And so it was this hyper focus of working nonstop, preparing for the next deployment, and just putting his whole self into that world. And there wasn't anything left for me and the boys. We were, just on our own. I mean, thankfully, after 12 months of a deployment, we were used to being on our own. So it was just kind of business as usual. Again, so in hindsight, me just going, this is what we do. We just carry on, and he's focused on his work. Then he deployed for 15 months, came back, and yeah, I would say the signs were it's hard to describe, but he was blank inside. He had a blank, always had a blank look in his eyes, where normally he would have, spark in his eyes. You would look at his eyes and they just looked blank. Um, and he just, again, wasn't the same person. Started doing things that weren't normal for him. Like he was drinking a lot. He started smoking, which were so outside of what he had normally been like. And then towards the end, just little things like cleaning out the garage, like I got to get rid of all this stuff. Like we have too much stuff. And so he started getting rid of stuff, which in my mind, I'm thinking we're just preparing for the future and, not realizing that that's actually a sign of like him trying to get things in order for him to step out of this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, and blessings to Ron wherever he is. Um, and to you and your boys for what the suffering that you've gone through with this tragedy. And again, I'm going to ask another hard question. If you choose not to answer it, any, now you have the hindsight. Now you have the ideas, and anyone listening to this show or studying it, like you said, we're speaking about suicide a lot more now. And thank goodness
Yes.
for people like Keith and your organization, trying to help keep our soldiers here. If someone who's hearing your story right now notices something and thinks, oh, my husband came back from deployment and he's cleaning out the garage. Or my wife came back from deployment and she's all of a sudden smoking. What are your resources? What do you see now that you didn't see then that you might be able to offer your suffering veteran?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many more resources available now. I will say the number one thing that I think that has changed that I think is so vitally important is maybe not so much just the small signs, but when you see the major signs and they're in crisis, you can take your service member to an emergency room, any emergency room, and get them care, which when we were going through it, it was, I have to go to base, right? I have to go on base. And I don't want to go on base because then everybody I know and my chain of command and everyone is going to find out that I went to the hospital and this is going to impact my career. Now, again, that I'm so thankful it's changed. I could have taken him anywhere and he could have got the help he needed. I could have taken him to a private hospital and he could have got the help he needed. I think that would have made a huge difference, knowing that he didn't have to go on base. I think he would have been more open to getting the help, but he was terrified of going on base and it impacting his career. A lot of that has changed. So if you're in a crisis situation, I'd say please take them to any hospital. It doesn't have to be the VA or the base. It can be any hospital. And then the other resources prior to that is, I always suggest getting care for yourself, right? Getting the care for yourself so that you're in a better place to care for them. So you start seeing that they're not the person they used to be. Of course, you want to encourage them to get help. I would say Returning Veterans Project, if you are in Oregon and Washington, is a great resource. And that is to get your service member the care, but also you can get care as well. And I think that's so important, is to make sure you are in a place to be able to support them the best that you can. And then to be that example, right? Like, I'm willing to go and get this help and learn what it is I need to do to help you and to help me, can also be a good example for them to be like, okay, well, then it's okay for me to go get that help as well.
Yeah, yeah, excellent advice. Thank you. And I'm assuming, like me, before my husband also died by suicide, my retired Navy SEAL, Lieutenant Glenn Collins, um, did not follow your current advice.
Mhm.
You're just trying to hang on and get through the day, and it's like survival mode. So important to take a beat and think about, okay, what can I do that's the healthiest step for me so that I can be the healthiest me for my family. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So love to hear more about Returning Veterans and the programs you offer. But before we hop to that, I'd love to hear how you got from there, from the end of your husband's life, recreating your life, and then end up at RVP.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously a journey, a long journey. I was in childcare, wanted to be a preschool kindergarten teacher, and suddenly now I'm in this whole new world of what is my life going to look like. And I knew at the very beginning, which I think a lot of us do, it's like I don't want to have gone through this for nothing, and I don't want his legacy to be he died by suicide and that's it, right? Like I really felt in my heart and compelled, like I have to do something with this loss. Like I have to make meaning out of it in some way. So I kept really searching. I wanted to do prevention work. Obviously wanted to prevent families from becoming my family. So was really trying to do prevention work, but it's difficult. It was at that time difficult to get involved in that. And so everyone kept pointing me to TAPS, Tragedy Assistant Program for Survivors. They support military loss survivors, and then they have a section that is just for suicide loss survivors. And everybody kept going, you got to go, you got to go, go to TAPS, go to TAPS. So I went and I said, how can I help? How can I get involved? But I really want to do prevention. And someone there, a dear friend of mine there, said, postvention is prevention. So by supporting a military loss survivor, you are actually doing prevention work, because suicide loss survivors are 3 times more likely to die by suicide themselves. So by supporting a loss survivor, you are actually doing prevention work. And that just was like, oh my gosh, I had never thought of that. And so I was like, okay, how do I do it? So I became a peer mentor where, I just offered peer support for a couple of years. Then I came on board and did survivor outreach support, did that for several years, and then got moved over specifically to the suicide pre and postvention team, where we did suicide loss support, but then we also did intensive treatment programs, like with another organization, trainings. So I did that for 10 years. And then decided I wanted to do more in my local community. And then that's how I found Returning Veterans Project.
Wow, long and winding story. Just one clarification. When you were a peer mentor at TAPS, was that a volunteer position? And then when I did hear you say on board, but I just want to clarify for our listeners, when you went from a volunteer position to a TAPS employee, and a little bit more about what a peer mentor is.
Yes, so a peer mentor is volunteer. So they have peer mentor training that you go through, and they really try to put together peers with, relationships, type of loss, cause of death, all of that. So that, for me, being a spouse, being a suicide loss survivor, I would get matched with a new loss survivor that was also a spouse, that was also suicide loss. And so it
And
really was,
TAPS offered you training
yes, TAPS,
to
TAPS
learn
does.
how to be a peer mentor.
Yep, they do all the peer mentor training for you, and then they do all the matching for you. And so it really is just, getting to talk to another peer and help them through those beginning stages of their loss. And so then that was an easy transition for me then to get hired on as survivor outreach, because that's as soon as we get notification, hey, there's a suicide loss survivor, I'm on the phone calling them saying, what can we do to help you? And it's really from that, sometimes day of to a couple of days later. So,
Wow,
yeah,
fast.
yeah, it's very, very fast and they're very raw in their grief, but at the same time, suddenly they're like, I've got somebody, like, I'm not alone in this. Somebody's back here who's got my back.
Yeah. It's I'm also a TAPS peer mentor, and
Okay, great.
I find it very rewarding to be able to offer that sort of support to people who have been through similar things to what you and I have been through.
Yes.
I went in a different direction, but we're not talking about me today. Um, when I just want to tell one quick story, and that is my therapist that I was seeing after Glenn died recognized that I had developed PTSD and told me that I was not a candidate to be her client anymore because she wasn't that kind of a therapist. I don't blame her at all. That's not a bad thing. She
Mhm.
wanted me to get the help I needed. She sent me to Returning Veterans Project. And Returning Veterans Project connected me with a therapist who basically saved my life. I'm still in touch with her. She's retired, but oh my gosh. And then she's the one who told me about TAPS.
Oh, funny.
So yeah, it's
That's a
very circular. It all comes down to TAPS, doesn't it?
yes,
And
yes.
one more thing I wanted to offer about TAPS is they are, nationwide, and they offer a variety of programs, all free, including retreats. So you can go stay somewhere at a fun resort and, be around your peers. So really wonderful. So more offerings that we have. Tell me about what Returning Veterans Project does specifically for
Yes.
survivors and veterans.
Yes. So we offer free mental health care and somatic care. Somatic being chiropractic, acupuncture, massage therapy. We offer that to veterans, to currently serving active duty members, and to their family members. And when we say family members, we mean anyone who has somebody who is serving or who has served. We want to support you as well. So that is in Oregon and Washington. We have an online directory of all of our providers, so you can go to our website, click Get Services, all of our providers pop up. All of our providers are volunteer, so they're licensed providers in our community who said, I want to volunteer some of my time to see and support our military community. So they're all volunteering their services, which I think is amazing. And
Wonderful way to give back
it's
to our
yes,
soldiers and their families.
yes. So one, we're always looking for new providers to join our directory, and two, we're always just wanting the word to get out that this is a
Yeah.
service that's available, and please utilize it. We want people to use our services.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for your honest and vulnerable answers today. I, for one, am very touched by your presence and your story, and I appreciate you so much. And to our listeners, we will see you on the trail.
Thank you for watching Trail to Transformation TV. To support these conversations or to support the foundation, I would ask that you go to givebutter.com/T3missionorg. That's the letter T, the number 3, MISSIONORG. Or go directly to our website at t3mission.org and click the donate button. Or just scan the QR code as you see it on the screen. And as always, I will see you on the trail.